Hello, I'm Stephen Monkey Mason and welcome to It's Just a Podcast. I am joined with the one and only Carl McSorley, also known as Luvo Carl, and we are here for Blade Trinity. Hi Carl.
Hiya, you alright?
Right, I'm going to press play on 3, 2, 1. Play. Play, you bitch. There you go. Right, I'm watching on Blu-ray, Carl's watching on DVD. There's this New Line Cinema, man. Fucking... They've got some good
classic
franchises. Like, what did I watch the other day? Oh, they've been collaborating quite a lot with Warner Bros. Because they did Harold and Kumar, didn't they?
Yeah.
So,
New Line, man, classic. They always seem to do like good films. They say I don't really like you're associated with a good film. I don't think New Line's ever really been in the business of doing shite.
well, you know, they did the Friday the 13th. Obviously, acquired them. They did Freddy Krueger. You know, they've got them kind of franchises. Straight off the bat with this, like, first off, Blade. There wasn't much time between the second and third. We've got a bit of interference going on here. I'm just going to say it right now. The fucking name of it. So, what do you think of when you hear the word Trinity?
Yeah, kind of trio. Yeah.
No, fucking Matrix. It's too close to the fucking Matrix. Honestly, that's the biggest fucking problem with the name. It should have just been called Blade 3, or if you want to get really funny, Blade versus Dracula. Like that would Blade Trinity. It's too fresh because Blade obviously comes along the time of the Matrix, and you know what I mean. Like, and again, you think, oh, is Trinity going to turn up? Like, no.
No. Well, no, because they're really pushing for the whole, Jessica Biel, Ryan Reynolds and Blade. That was what they were hoping for, wasn't it?
Aye, but the name, just wait again, Blade 3, there's fucking 3 of them, that's enough. Now, get off.
This is actually funny enough, because this is the first one that was labelled a Marvel film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's always been Marvel, but then I think this is what fucked everything up, because I'm fairly confident that this was the reason why this was the last one, was because once they finished this, the rights went back to Marvel. So I feel like there was never going to be, obviously, spoiler, there will be an end credit scene, but there was never going to be really another one after this, as far as kind of the studios were thinking, unless Marvel themselves wanted to pick it up.
Well, the thing is about the rights are all over the place now. I'm watching it on Blu-ray, and for a long time, Blade 2 wasn't available on Blu-ray. It had been, and you could only get them singly. And we were just talking about before we started recording about it's weird because the box set has just recently came out and it's under Warner Brothers, and it's the first time a trilogy box set's been available on Blu-ray. It's a really good price at £20 because you get all the extra features. It's packed. It looks nice on Blu-ray. But as you just said there, all of a sudden Blade 4K's come out. Why bother bringing Blade out on its own? And when you jump into the next format, you don't want to be fucking triple dipping. Bring a box set out, Blade 1, 2 and 3 at a reasonable price and group them together. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what's happening. It's the Spider-Mans have all came out separately, and they just keep on, X-Men. They bring a 1 to 3 box set out, then all the ones are skagmented all over the place, and as I say, that look at anyone who invested money into Game of Thrones. They brought season 1 out, then they haven't fucking bothered, then they dropped the 1 to 8 box set, and that's £200. I mean, the original Game of Thrones box set was £45. Do you know what I mean? You've got to clever market it. Now, I want to say this on this box set. This is David Goya's directing debut. He's obviously wrote the original Blade. He's been heavily into Batman. I fucking think this is the defined sequel to Blade 1 because this is completely fucking different in tone. It goes all the way. It goes back to the first movie that Norrington did, and it's totally different. Even the fucking intro when it starts, the over talking. Oh, there he is. There's our mate from Under Siege 2.
There he is.
But it's totally fucking different. It's style. It's editing. It's a far better sequel than the second one.
Well, I'm going to reserve the right to comment too much because, most of our podcast is obviously I watch films I've seen, but I know you tend to do a lot more research and watch them beforehand, whereas I don't. I tend to say, well, I've never seen this for years, I'm going to watch it like it's for the first time again. And the reason why I say that is because if you do go back to the Blade 2 podcast we did, you'll notice from start to the finish, I very much severely flip coins. You know, I went with the whole idea, in my memory, the second one was the superior to me. And obviously by the time the film ended, it was, let's just say, it didn't age well.
No, it hadn't.
A lot of stuff that was going, a lot of stuff that I started realising, oh, this is not that great. Now, the funny thing is, I feel like, no, that was the only one, but I felt like this was definitely not the favourite of the three. This one got a little bit more heat, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
I always quite liked it. I liked the tone. I do like the fact that most people not the fact that the people found it annoying, but I like the Ryan Reynolds kind of character, whereas that sometimes comes off as the most common critique, saying, oh, it's too comic-y, it's too, like, jokey, it's Blade, it should be more serious. And I feel like, I think they found a fine line, and I found they sat on that line.
Well,
I never thought they went over it.
Well, the thing is,
different by the end.
Anyone revisiting this now, watching it, they're going to see Ryan Reynolds in it, and he's fucking Deadpool. He's the same kind of character.
Well, I had this big discussion with a friend of mine who's, I mean, I'll stand by it to this day. I feel unless he does something quick, I feel like, to me, as a viewer, he's getting quite almost like bored, because it just feels like Ryan Reynolds can only do one thing. Although he does it very well, I'll never say that. He's very entertaining to watch. But I just feel like, I reckon he's a better actor than that. I just always...
Oh, yeah, he is.
The time, this is like 2004, this is the perfect role. Now, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was quite a big fan of Two Guys in a Pizza Place. You know, this was a TV series, like an American sitcom he did many years ago, and I loved it because that was the humour that carried the show, really. It was a funny show, but he was kind of controlling the humour quite a lot. In this particular element of the film, it worked really well.
Well, he's in he's in like Waiting and stuff like that. I really like him in that as well.
Yeah.
But you know what he was in, don't you?
Go on, I probably do, but...
he was in the X-Files! Haha!
Oh, was he in the X-Files? Oh, well, there you go.
Right.
That intro is brilliant.
Oh, the Blade. It's fucking class. It's a total different... I mean, don't get us wrong, this scene here reminds me of Blade 2 when he has that fight with the motorbike, but like the special effects, again...
But it's better.
The special effects going to Ash, but like the colour as well, it's got such a better colour. It's just class. I mean, they are fantastic graphics, and that's what you want going into a movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it, even that, look at that, how that's traditionally done. You know what I mean? Yes, there's some wire works removed, but it's traditionally done. Unlike what was in the second one, where it turned into like Mortal Kombat, and he was flipping around. I was just going to say though, when you look at, I was really shocked the other day when I seen, I was watching White Squirrel or something like that, Jeff Bridges movie about the boat.
Right.
And that started, and the fucking font was all over the place. I was like, this is a Ridley Scott film. The font was terrible, like the alignment. There you go, Blade fucking Trinity. Like, why? I don't get it. Whistler, I mean, again, he's back. Like, it was what he talked like there. He should have been, like, he should have not been in the second one, and then the reveal that Whistler's daughter's in this, and we're like, oh, right, yeah, cool. But, like, we don't need him.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, you know, the irony of that is, I mean, this could have been based on, obviously, the fact that they insisted on adding him to the second film. But it turned out, obviously, Wesley Snipes and, drawing a blank on his name.
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson, yeah. They didn't love the idea of bringing in new characters. They said by this point, there was no need for Blade to have, like, sidekicks. You know, they kind of like established that him and Whistler could do pretty much whatever threat, even up to the third one, was delivering. So they didn't actually love that. I remember reading that. It was a David Goyer thing that was that they had an issue with, because I don't think they worked well together. Well, if I remember correctly, I think they had a bit of a bust up on set.
Well, Goya and Wesley Snipes do the commentary for Blade 2, and they are quite pally in it. And Wesley Snipes went on to be in another David Goya film. That might have been his first film, I'm not 100% sure. Again, what it's called now, but it's I'm sure John Leguizamo was in it. Where's Paul Rainey's computer? But I just got the style there, like the whole like speeding up and the whole cranking stuff. It's just fucking class.
Yeah.
Like that was totally gone
But
from the
this had
second
a lot of
movie.
interference with the studio, though, didn't it? I remember this having quite a breakdown. I remember because obviously there's a bit in the second one where obviously the joke about it now, but like when Blade gets offered a joint and he refuses it or something like that in the second one, if I vaguely remember the context. But apparently, like the irony is that throughout most of this filming in this film, he spent most of his time in the trailer just getting high, and refused to be acknowledged as Wesley Snipes. Even Ryan Reynolds joked about it and said he never worked with Wesley Snipes on set, he only worked with Blade.
I mean, that's it. I mean, at this time, Snipes had started doing a lot of European movies, and especially when you you can go when you go from a big film into like Europe and stuff like that, you've got a lot of clout, and you can just tell directors to fuck off, and like the director's more expendable than the actor. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you can't replace actors, but like when Wesley Snipes comes back over, I mean, this is a big paycheck for him, and this is probably like his last big paycheck.
Well, I mean, when you're on the third instalment of the film, you've got more power than anyone, haven't you? Especially like if you're Wesley Snipes.
He's a different side as well here. He like murders somebody, and again, it's why aren't you dead?
Yes, I forgot about this scene.
But again, it's kind of like I like the Parker Posey. I mean, she plays like a proper like white trash kind of attitude girl.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a throwback to Stephen Dorff. We've got like proper vampires, and we don't have this old like gothic like the Hellboy factor religion going on there. We've got that kind of like the Lost Boys kind of look. I mean, Triple H is in there. I mean, I think he was injured at the time they filmed that. So he had like Triple H, like I mean he's done the right for what he's doing in the wrestling company now with NXT and stuff like that. But he had quite a few like attempts at like following in the Rock's footsteps, no pun intended, but like Chaperone and Inside Out, he'd been in a lot of films. But this is one of the ones where, grab a wrestler while you can, while they're off injured. And he's a great henchman. I was just going to say he's a great henchman, but he just got the wrong haircut at the time. Because a lot of people wanted him to be before, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm going to say, he got the thing about it is, though, like, the guys on set loved what he was doing so much that he got more lines. Apparently he was supposed to be a nobody character, sorry. He was only meant to be, like, kind of the big boy henchman. But they actually gave him a lot more lines in this film because of his commitment and the work he was doing behind camera. I mean, if you think about it, that's the one thing that Triple H will always be like kind of known for. Is kind of like the hard worker. Like he doesn't take any foolish actions like when it comes to business.
No, he's a really. I mean, he's a really good businessman. Like any documentary you see about him, yeah. Again, the style of this as well. It has a nice golden look about it. Again, if you were going to bring Chris Christopherson back, right? Have him in the dream sequence later on, and that's it. You don't. It doesn't have to be like a Warren character.
Well, I mean, like I say, it just feels like it's. I don't know. I mean, being it was 2004, it's quite a long time ago, in like kind of film mode, and I just felt like they'd already kind of done that with his mum in the first one. The character that was presumed dead, and then at the very end, bring him back, and then obviously the kill off wrestler, and then they bring him back. It just felt like. It's like how many times can you pull the same trick? And to be honest with you, I don't think it held that much weight to the fact that he is. I mean, sure, there's like scenes like this now where obviously he's now wanted by the FBI. He's obviously going to need at least someone to bounce off with that kind of storyline. Because, I mean, how else would he kind of deal with the idea that he didn't cross a line, not intentionally in any way, But I feel like if he was just there on his own, I don't think you'd get much from it. So I do really need someone to bounce off, but at the same time, I don't think it had to be Whistler, really. Like you say, the way they filmed the death scene, it was very much a case of backpedaling. It was never a case that they always planned on bringing him back.
Well, that's it. I mean, just going off the bat there as well, we look at James, is it Rennar there, who's just paid, who's the chief of police, who's after him. Obviously, he's from, obviously, made his fame in Warriors, but obviously famously known for being sacked from Aliens and replaced by Michael Biehn as Hicks. But it went on went on to replace Christopher Lambert in Mortal Kombat as Raiden. Is like been in a lot of. He's been in the X-Files, of course, but he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it because something else he's been in, which I always kind of like known him for. That's not one of the ones you've mentioned. But no, like I say, it's a great cast as well when you think about the whole film.
Well, going off,
you mentioned a couple of times there, going off what you were saying there about obviously Del Toro going off to do Hellboy. Of course, naturally, apparently he was lined up to do this, but the irony is that he left this project because his Hellboy project got greenlit. So it's like interesting how whatever you see in Hellboy could have potentially been the kind of world building that we would have gotten from Blade 3.
Well, that's it. You look at the world he built, and you could see Blade turning up in Hellboy and not having a problem with it. But like, it was so different to the first to this one, as well as this as well. The casting of Dominic, what do you call him, from Prison Break?
Yeah.
I mean, did they do this? I mean, this is while Prison Break was on. Again, it's kind of like he would have filmed.
Well, it was his moment, wasn't it? Really.
Well, yeah, he's been in a lot of he's been in a lot of things. He's in stuff like Primitively Evil with a crocodile, and I mean, it's just fucking mental to think that the two brothers from Prison Break are now in the DC universe as well as Legends of Tomorrow and stuff. They're both in that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was the right cast for Dracula.
Well, the thing is though, like Dracula's a bold move. And I feel like I think it was a rushed decision. I feel like they probably knew that this was going to be their last hurrah at doing a Blade film. Like I say, it was going back to Marvel. There was a lot of interference with the studio, and I feel like they just thought, who could Blade go up against in terms of the vampire world? And I feel like you're always going to sit there and go, well, Dracula's a big name. That's what everyone knows of a vampire, especially of a bad guy. I think it could have been better. It might have worked better if they hadn't called him Dracula. You know, I know it sounds daft, but even if you gave him a different name, I think like once you put Dracula in your head,
well, they call him Drake, don't they?
What you see, yeah, exactly. It doesn't really sell as you want it to be. But you know, like I say, you had to go big or go home by this point. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, like there were that deleted scene in the original, which was bringing in is it Mordecai, who Jared Leto's now playing in the film. Is it Mordecai?
Yeah.
No, not Morbius. Like he was like in a deleted scene in the original, but like again at this time, it's kind of like it's under the Marvel wagon, but then. Why not try and bring in another character from the Marvel universe? Because this is before we had stuff like the Avengers and that. I mean, I would have loved Wesley Snipes to appear in the Marvel universe as Blade. We've talked about this, but I would like to see Wesley Snipes like come back in. I mean, he seems to be shit hot at the moment because obviously.
Well, apparently there was a discussion. Rumour has it. What people are trying to talk about online is that apparently it was all in the works to at least ask him to come back. But apparently it was that one of the Marvel executives had saw a fan-made poster of Mahershala as Blade, and apparently I wouldn't say that was the thing that swayed the choice, but I think that was like there was a conversation that. You know, Wesley Snipes was meant to come back to do something, whether it would be Blade or whether it would be part of the Blade franchise to kind of give it that homage. But yeah, apparently it was Mahershala's role once to saw the visuals, which I don't know. I feel like, I don't sound daft, but I feel like he's a bit tall. I don't know. It all depends on how they look. From what I saw, when they announced him and he came out on stage. I still have a hard time picturing him with Blade, but
It's quite an interesting area as well. A group of vampire teenagers, how ruthless they would be to go after a woman and a baby. But this totally reminds me of Money Train, the decoy.
yeah, aye. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, obviously, like I say, it's like quite a dark element in it. You know, you got this kind of what looks to be almost even slightly homeless woman with a kid.
Slightly, just fucking way she's dressed. Slightly,
Well,
she's
no,
carrying loads of shopping.
What I mean is, like, she's clearly like maybe down on her luck. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't like to say she was homeless. Obviously, she might just be like a proper drabby. I mean, she's got groceries. You know what I mean? So she must have a.
I mean,
house to go to.
she looks like she's in the same set as the Matrix at the end when they have the train fight. Now, looks like the same
Well,
set.
this is where Trinity comes in.
Ah! Answer the phone. Jessica Biel, though, she's like, she pops up, then she fucking disappears again.
She hasn't had a consistent career, like, has she? I mean, she has been, like, very much kind of cast as the pretty girl in a lot of stuff. But one thing I did remember reading when I was prepping for this is it was quite funny. Apparently, there is a television commercial that was recalled after a day of being aired because apparently they credited as Jessica Alba.
Her.
I was like, how much of a dick do you have to be to make that mistake?
Well, look at that VHS I've got of Steven Spielberg and Steven spelled wrong on a fucking Jaws VHS.
Steven with a B.
Steven with a PH.
Oh, the PH is it right now.
This is very
I'm
dark.
pretty much ready to eat that baby, like, wouldn't I?
Fuck you.
Garlic powder.
Again, though, when Ryan Reynolds pops through the window, not a long time, he's got "fuck you" written on his badge as well. So, kind of like a double joke.
Yeah. Although, like I say, it's not like it's way better than the second one, but you can see how they haven't like kind of overcomplicated like the whole bursting the flames.
It's a lot better.
Way better.
It's way better.
Yeah, it just they've kept to the same thing because they didn't want to like obviously make it stupidly different. Or why people go, well, why are they doing that now? But they just improved it. They just said, well, how do we do it properly?
Oh, and I mean, like the colour, it's very golden, yellow golden. This movie so far, even though it started off with a lot of red in the font, but look at that, man, just fucking brutal.
What's your thoughts on the Blu-ray then?
It looks lush on Blu-ray.
You're happy with the Blu-ray? Because I'm going to say, to be honest with you, I was just about to say before, this is not a bad DVD, like.
No, I mean,
in terms of like quality and that. It's like you wouldn't look at it and go, oh, we desperately need a new version of this made. It's actually quite nice, clean cut.
Well, that's it. I mean, this was made in the era of like Blu-ray high definition, so it's kind of like, you know. And New Line, don't get us wrong, normally count the pennies and chuck stuff out, but like, there's definitely like, I mean, is this just before Dark Knight, Batman Begins and stuff? It's in that weird transition
definitely.
where we did like, had Iron Man been made yet, and like it's in that kind of realm where, like Blade's a one that really fucking kickstarted the superheroes, and you know like it's stagnated sequels, and by the time this comes out, we've already had a couple of Spider-Mans. We've definitely had the Punisher at this point. Ghost Rider is about to say
we had them, but we also had the Fantastic Four, we also had X-Men. But I think what Blade did well, because of its darker element, is it looked nicer. I think now when you go back and watch, say, the X-Men, the CGI didn't hold up as well. Whereas I think this one, it helps service the longevity because you've got that night element. Fantastic Four and X-Men, they don't look bad, but certainly not as clean cut as CGI used to do.
It's just like, again, I mean, it does look lush, but this does like, in the second one when Danny John Jules and that turn up, invasion of, like, we've seen this before, invasion of the home, but this is the end of Chris Christopherson. He's definitely dead.
Yes.
Again, it's just, I mean, it is an element we haven't seen though. Blade taking on coppers.
Yeah.
So just running.
Well, that's it. I mean, when you look at the first two, I mean, other than like kind of people who were in the clubs, I mean, the first one did a little bit actually. Now that I'm backtracking on myself, but there was never really a huge involvement in the world, was there?
Yeah.
Like when you look at it, it was very much Blade taking on this small group of bad guys. So you never really had any real interaction with the rest of the world. So the fact that you brought police, like SWAT teams and that, in itself is enough to kind of give it a bit of a different spin. But if I'm having a quick look on the fantasy side of things, in 2004, we did get Night Watch, which I've never seen. I don't know.
Is that the Russian one?
I should look at. Yeah. Spider-Man 2, Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban, Van Helsing. Yeah.
See there, sorry to cut you off there, right? You got about Van Helsing, right? That's fucking Dracula. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
What else?
I think you could have blended them together. I think you could have had a kind of a Van Helsing character in this. It would have been more of a controversy. Because, of course, naturally, like I say, Van Helsing is being like kind of mission to destroy, whereas there's a blurred line between Blade, isn't it? It's like, well, is he vampire, is he human? We don't know. Well, we do, but they don't.
That's a great big explosion, like. There's no CGI in that. Well, there'll be enhancements, like, but it's a nice big, real explosion.
No, but it's still practical. Something's definitely blowing up.
Is that Whistler dead now?
I would imagine so by this point, yeah. And that is about as much of a emotion you'll see from Wesley Snipes in the series.
What are you trying to say? He doesn't have emotion?
Yeah.
Ha! Well, what else was out that year?
To be fair, between him and say Keanu Reeves, that could be a good stand-up. Just simple quips. Oh, we've got Catwoman this year as well.
Oh.
Halle Berry. See, there was worse films out there.
Catwoman.
No, like I say, I wouldn't say it's not like a dead year, but you know, we've got like Anchorman, Collateral, you know, House of Flying Daggers. I think that was out this year as well. That was 2004. You know, so there's like, in terms of special effects, I feel like we've got a good year, but I don't know. Have a look and see what this made.
Wesley Snipes looks really thin here.
Well, listen, it kind of coincide with the fact that he's probably not at his healthiest. You know, this is probably not his leanest cut, you know what I mean?
I think he's a great actor. I think he can really deliver home some fucking dramatic performance, especially if you look at his back catalogue. There's a one called One Night Stand where he's constantly breaking the fourth wall and it's all like dramatic kind of things. Again, if you look at New Jack City, I think he's absolutely brilliant in that. But it's the era of where, you know, he goes off and, like, don't get us wrong, stuff like 7 Seconds was alright, but then you've got loads of weird films like Game of Death and The Gallow Walkers. Fuck me, The Gallow Walkers. Jesus Christ, I forgot about that one.
I've never seen it, but every single time I see like a picture of it, or if I see it being advertised or something like that, I always sit there and think, I really want to see that.
Oh.
There's a Century Blade in the Westerns.
It's just a really bad fucking made movie, mate.
Really?
I was fucking hyped. I bought that day one when it came out.
Well, this cost 65 million. What do you reckon it did worldwide?
It did over 100, I would say.
Yeah. Just under 132 million. The exact figure I've got here is $131,977,904. But not bad. You know, it's it definitely, I reckon, should have had Marvel, like, kind of more on the toes to do something with it. But,
the thing is, as well, about the era of these movies, especially Blade 3, there's one thing they don't take into account for, and they do, because people were, is this is where the era of where Blockbuster and Global and all that died. Do you know what I mean? So no
Yes.
longer, nobody's renting anymore. So you don't get like people like this carries a Warrant name and go, oh, the new Blades, I'll buy it because I can't rent it. You know, there was like like Netflix and Love Film were you mixing around, but again, like it's just some of that really goes on the case of like you want to see it, you kind of have to buy it. So again, it makes money, but again, I would have said we said this in the last couple of podcasts that if they made a new Blade, it would go straight on Netflix. It's the easiest way to do it. But now it's Disney in it, so.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, like, Netflix is a weird world for me because in my head, because it's not like Blockbuster cinematic. It's not really cinematic, some of them, but it's like not cinema. So, like, I feel like there's a little bit of forgiveness if a Netflix film isn't exactly, like, you know, brilliant. You know, like, I was watching The Midnight Sky the other night, that George Clooney.
Alright, yeah.
Directed by George Clooney, starring George Clooney. It's kind of a soloist film, you know. It's kind of, in a nutshell, we fucked up on Earth and we found we could actually live on Jupiter, so everyone fucks off there, but he's had to stay behind. But there's big twists involved and stuff like that. And literally, like, I mentioned watching it, and like, there's quite a few people I know, like, oh, it was fucking awful, oh, it was so boring, this, that, and the other. I thought, you know what it is? It wasn't. I think it was kind of like, with Netflix to have an opportunity to make a proper, like, a film the way they want to do it. And so you imagine if that went to the cinema, it would be way more complicated because they'd say, oh no, you've got to do more, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And I feel like with that, I can forgive it. If I went to the cinema and seen it, I might have been a little bit more the other side. I would have been like, oh, that was a bit underwhelming. But sitting in the comfort of my own home watching it, I thought, you know what, that was just a really interesting sci-fi film.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be like, I didn't have to have big explosions, stuff like that. It was almost like conversational.
Well, that's it. I mean, look how much money they've chucked at Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler's like, his last 10 movies or
something.
something.
Halloween thing blew up, didn't it? Who Beat Halloween or something like that? Did not do like amazing.
Well, that's the thing is, he again, that's the audience. Again, like, you've got to look at like the box office thing, especially now because of COVID. Like, box office and all that, you've got to get your bums in your seats, and like, you know, Tenet was held back and pushed for cinema, and everyone's just, you know, Christopher Nolan, you're going to the pictures because you're going to get an experience, especially with the IMAX cameras and the sound, and like, it doesn't matter what the story is, like, you go and see it for the experience, but like, he's not going to fucking make a movie straight for Netflix, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just not
Except
going to...
for the fact that I watched that in the cinema. There was one of the few films I managed to see after the whole lockdown scenario, and I honestly felt I didn't get much from the cinema from it.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because it was a Christopher Nolan film. I don't think it's a bad film. I think the choice of genre, I mean, obviously we all know he's got a bit of an obsession with time travel, but it was kind of like, it was an idea that looked good on paper and just didn't serve very well on the screen, in my opinion. There's a couple of shots where you go, oh, that's a proper Christopher Nolan shot. But it wasn't enough to justify it, like the whole build-up to the fact that he refused to put it on VOD because he said the only way you should experience this is on the big screen. And to be honest with you, I would have agreed if he said that was like the same for his other films. But after watching that in the cinema, I thought it was good, but it wasn't certainly... I enjoyed it. I could have enjoyed it just as much on the small screen.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, if you look here with Blade, I mean, it's surprising that this Blade wasn't Blade 3D.
Yeah, that was right behind the gimmick now, wasn't it? Now, that was a little nice twist, you know, because you don't expect him to be part of the vampire cult.
I think Wesley Snipes is great in this. Like this scene in particular, like the look of him, he looks vulnerable, you know what I mean? It's a size not, but like, he looks fucking ripped.
A lot, like.
He looks fucking ripped. His teeth are fucking huge. He's got like mask-sized teeth. Oh.
I just say he's all well and good, like, but like I say, if you think about all three films, he didn't take him very long to get caught. But then that might serve its purpose. I think, you know, that might actually be a benefit because, you know, he's not overpowered. You know what I mean? He is kind of like, he is dancing between that half man, half vampire. So like, you know, he's vulnerable. You know. if you were just pure beast, and there's really no challenges. Here comes the game.
Huh.
I was going to say this has got 3 taglines as well, which I thought were not really very strong, but I suppose we've got where it begins, so it shall. Sorry, I fucked that up, Riley. Where it began, so it shall be, so it shall end.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's weird. It's a tongue twister, and it shouldn't be, but I'm like, oh, what am I doing? You got that. The final hunt begins. Weird. And then he fought the forces of darkness alone until now. So it goes into the category of like, just silly tag names, not necessarily.
That's it. I mean, again, the artwork, it was always the floating head syndromes.
Yeah.
The artwork on the Blu-ray is alright, but it's him falling from the sky with like his gun out.
Right.
Fucking hell, you can see how big Triple H... Like, when you're watching wrestling, you see wrestlers fight each other and all that, and they're in the ring and that, you don't really grasp how fucking big they are until you see them on camera next to somebody.
Yeah.
The perfect example of that is Glenn Jacobs, as known Kane, in See No Evil. You see the size of him against a fucking teenager.
Yes.
He's fucking like a monster. That was a very expensive shot, that. And here he comes.
Fuck you.
Fuck. Again, another fuck you joke.
Yeah.
He's really good in this. I think that. Again, they're introducing characters.
It's a perfect casting if that's what you want. And I quite like that kind of sequence where he just kind of shoves this kind of plasma in his mouth to get him souped up again.
Well, it's the beard, Ryan Reynolds, because it was the same. I think this is the same time as Amityville Horror, and that's a fucking great performance by him.
I mean, as far as like remake goes, especially that like genre of horror, that was amazing. Because like I say, sorry, like the angle there just looked like Wesley Snipes had a fucking boner.
No,
got distracted.
Did you know?
But yeah, because like I say, that's what I mean, though. That's how that was exactly my point before about this whole idea of when Ryan Reynolds did Buried and when he did like Amityville, he's got a really good like dramatic side of him, which I feel like could work. But like I feel like in the last 5-10 years nearly, like all he's done is just the same kind of goofy.
Well,
like
what is it?
And it's just like do more.
Is it what was it, man? R.I.P.D.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but I think it was only because he bounced quite well with Jeff Bridges. That one flopped majorly. I mean, it was cheesy. It is something that you would have expected on Netflix, to be honest with you. That's a good example. If it was on Netflix, I would have been like, that's like cheap and cheerful. Whereas, cinema-wise, not so much.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of too much.
Even his next one. Have you seen his next one? Where he's in a video game.
No, I've seen bits and bobs of like him talking about because
so
like
basically just a side character in a video game. So obviously he does the same thing every day because that's how he's programmed. But for some reason, obviously he'll explain in the film that he started to break the system by like not going to certain areas when he should be, and so he's kind of breaking that wall. But again, it just comes off like Deadpool, but it's going to be like Deadpool without all the powers because it kind of comes off as just like an ordinary bloke.
I was about to say there, one thing I noticed with that fighting sequence, especially if you look at the second one when you had like Donnie Yen doing a lot of the choreography and all that, there was a lot of like almost non-impact martial arts there between Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes, where they were like sort of like you'd see half like block, throw him away kind of, but nothing physical like impact, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that to me there, I think they could have done a lot more in them choreographed scenes. It's one thing to like when someone's running a warrior and you have the montage of just stop, disarm, take down, and walk on, stop, disarm, take down. But that I just didn't like the flow of that. To be honest.
I mean, the thing is, I think it's because it's Wesley Snipes that it kind of comes up like, as if an actor can't do it, so they've had to simplify it. That's why it came off a little bit, so they went with a more basic, simple punch kick scenario. But then you can't really say that because we all know Wesley Snipes could definitely do it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, even like the money they spent there on that Robin Hood bow and arrow bit, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, you know, like Goya I think, has done a great job of this, and I don't think he's directed much since, has he?
no.
I mean, he's done a lot of writing. I mean, he would have made millions off writing alone.
I'm going to say, you were saying the bow and arrow there. Now, I don't remember which scene it is. I don't know if you saw when you were watching the special features and that. You say that he went all out on it. They lost a fair bit of money from that, you know, because apparently there's a scene, and I can't remember which one it is now, but there's a scene where he told Jessica Biel, what I want you to do is I want you to fire the arrow at the camera. So there's obviously going to be a scene where the arrow's going towards the camera.
Yeah.
And apparently, because she'd been practicing so much, I'm going to say it's a fluke, but the way they wrote it, she'd been practicing so much that apparently there was just a tiniest little hole where the lens was coming through. And apparently, when she shot the arrow at the camera, it had this plexiglass around it, so totally protected, except for this one tiny little hole. And apparently, the arrow went in there, and it cost them like $300,000. Just totally trashed the camera. But they reckon there's that's a bit comical.
Sorry. It is. I mean,
yeah, that's a kind of Scooby Doo and that, like.
It is. It's a whole. That is one like bit there.
But you think he just can't run that way though? Because you're a kind of big guy. You don't tend to do a lot of cardio, do you? Think it's
big guy, yeah.
Triple H can't run. But so I'm gonna have to look that up because like I say, there is apparently. I think I'm sure it said it on. It's either a deleted scene or it's on it must be like a behind the scenes thing on the special features because it said they'll show you the scene where she actually hits the camera. I thought $300,000.
Well, it's all lenses and shit, man, like that. It's.
Well, I could say it's our
I mean, especially if you fire a fucking bow and arrow into it, it's kind of gone deep. It's, you know what I mean?
Oh, aye. This is it, aye. It's like a proper hunting bow, so it's probably packing a bit of a punch as well, like.
Right, so this is one point of the film we get introduced to even more cast, and don't get us wrong, both Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel had great entrances. He's in Justified. He's married to he's married to.
I think his first name now.
He's married to the last from Dream a Little Dream. He's been in quite a lot, little supporting roles. But this is a bit like Punisher, when he has like the group of friends who live next door. It's that kind of setup here. And then it's the chick from American Pie who's the blind lass, isn't it?
That's right. She's done if it's the one I'm thinking of, it is. She's done a cracking series on Netflix. I'm sadly blanking on the name now, but it's kind of I think it's like a Groundhog Day theme. It's been a while since I watched it properly, but it's more of an adult version of like Groundhog Day, where she's kind of keep coming back.
And she's a child actor, isn't she?
Yeah. That's his name.
There's a lot of bits and bobs in here where the stand-ins there. It's not Wesley Snipes, so if you look at any maybe back shots of their alignment, it'll not be Wesley Snipes. Ryan Reynolds is fucking ripped in this, like.
That was something else I read, what was it? I'll see if I can say that, but some notes. £25. He put on £25 of muscle, which is a lot. I don't know how Triple H is now getting around to pulling the arrow out, we said.
It's that Triple H evolution era, when he's got like that $1 billion player, because his hair's really nicely done, isn't it?
I was going to say, you can tell he spent more time doing his hair than anything else.
He looks like Daniel Craig's little brother, the other vampire.
Yeah, aye. Does have a relation, like, look. Now, this is a massive difference between the second and this one, then.
Especially...
We're 45 minutes in, and so much has happened, whereas I feel like with the second one, and it wore an hour in, and it was like, what's going on? Where are we now? What we're doing?
But even the
I just feel
locations there, if you look at the backdrop of there when Drake, he's called, walks in there and they've got these big big empty skyscrapers almost to film in there. I love the backstory as well. I think Ryan Reynolds really carries it, really funny. But like in the second one, you had all like the gothic twist and the underground. It's almost like in Hellboy where there's a magic door to an underground kingdom. And like the European side of it, I think it was just totally like, I mean, don't get us wrong, the three great films, and I'm glad for years I wanted a Blade sequel. And then we got one, and then we got a third one, and like, you look back at them now and you go, this is far, I totally believe this is far better than this fucking second one, so.
Yeah.
And it's got some
just
great
saying before about David Goyer not doing much, just give you a heads up. Apparently, if we go off IMDb, he's in pre-production on a TV series called The Sandman. He's in pre-production on an early screenplay of Masters of the Universe. Now that would be interesting. And he's also in pre-production to Hellraiser.
They need to leave Hellraiser alone. Like Hellraiser is one of the...
Hellraiser could do though? I reckon if you wanted to, if someone was to give Hellraiser the Halloween treatment, I feel like they've done as much as they can with the new stuff that they come up with. Whereas now, I reckon if they redid Hellraiser, but almost reimagine it, I feel like I might be down with seeing something like that. Especially if you try and introduce a little bit more of the hell side elements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you've got so many cool characters, and obviously they do serve a purpose in the original one just by visuals. But I feel like if they did it a little bit more carefully with the way they did the Halloween kind of reboot, remake thing, I'd happily see that. But the fact that you're on like something like Hellraiser 10 now or something like that.
There's a new one out this year. Oh, it's coming out next year or something.
Yeah, they've got the original Hellraiser back there, didn't they? I forget what his name is now, but I'm sure he's come back.
Oh, the guy, I know who you're on about, the guy.
Bradley someone, is it? Or?
Aye. If you're on Goya, have a look at what he's directed. I mean, I like this flashback here, this mythology of Dracula. Again, I think this is well done, and I think there's a lot given here. And I think in the second one, it would have just dragged out and just talking, but I love, like, it gives them a little spin on Dracula, and I mean, even there, that visual of him coming out the water and then him being able to change and all that, it's quite interesting.
Definitely. So he's only credited for 6 director's features. So the first thing he did was 2002, which was called Zigzag.
Yeah, that's the movie I was on about with Wesley Snipes.
Is that the one you're thinking? Yeah. His second one is Blade Trinity. And then he directed an episode of something called Threshold, I want to say. And then he did something called The Invisible, and then something called The Unborn. Flash forward, he did 2 episodes of that TV series. And the last thing he did was 2013, which was Da Vinci's Demons, which was 2 episodes of a series. So he's kind of gone into literally must just be wanting to write now. I mean, he's got 35 producer credits, he's got 7 director credits, but as far as writing goes, which is basically 40, he's got 52 credits.
I love this montage, him walking slow and all that. It's such a throwback to the original.
Again, it's just including the world, and this is where you go to the goth shop in it.
Oh, and this is a bit there. The kid behind the counter. Yeah, the kid behind the counter. I've seen him in something when I was watching. I was like, what the fuck have I just seen him in? Again, it's no like another film that gets a lot of hate. Queen of the Damned, I like as well.
Yeah, was that meant to be a sequel to something, but it wasn't really or something.
Well, it is a sequel, you tit. It's a sequel to fucking Interview with a Vampire.
Okay, well, let me finish. Because I never got around to it. But I remember someone, an ex-partner of mine, she loved it. She watched it years before we met, so we never rewatched it. But I vaguely remember saying it was a sequel to something, but yeah.
Yeah, Lestat is a character which is in a lot of books. I think it's Anne Rice. And obviously the original's done with Tom Cruise, and it has, famously known that Christine Slater replaces River Phoenix, Antonio Banderas is in it, Brad Pitt. And it's very told, very traditionally told, you know what I mean? It's very, it's told through an interview, obviously Brad Pitt doing a lot of the monologue. Kirsten Dunst is in it at a young age. And it literally echoes and bounces between time. Then the second one comes along. And obviously it's based on a book, and it's recast, but then Lestat comes out of hiding and becomes like a gothic rock god, like almost like a Villy Velo of the time, and all the music's done by Jonathan Davis and that, and it has a fucking bitchin' soundtrack, and it gets slated because Tom Cruise isn't in it, and I'm like, well, do you know what I mean? So that that just died in the water.
Yeah. I would say it kind of always looked like a music video to me. Whenever I saw clips and stuff like that, it just felt like it was a music video.
And again, Static X, obviously, they had the music video, so it was heavily shown on Kerrang and stuff in the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it had that style, and that's just a little bit there of like the goth. I mean, again, that's what I was trying to say with that is it's acknowledging like that massive gothic following, and like again, it's what if Dracula did walk into a shop. I think like the fact that the entire shop happens to be Dracula is a bit overkill. It could have just been a goth shop with a Dracula bit, do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
again, it's for all a bit of comedy.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
When we've just been talking about Hellraiser there, I did a video last night called Random Unboxing. It's when I had this big rant, and it's what we've been talking about WrestleMania 20. And just when you mentioned Hellraiser, I was like, fuck me, I didn't put the additional outtake in, so I'm like trying to like do that in the background.
Right.
I'm completely ballsed up. Like, I've even uploaded it on YouTube.
A brand new candle. Oh my god. Butterfudge. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.
Sorry, I was just time locking it. Just totally forgot to put that in, so now I'm going to have to wait for that to master, and then I'm going to have to upload it again.
Well, if you're still watching.
I'm going to put it right at the end, hidden. Only you're going to know, and I'm going to send you it later on. And you'll be like, that's the video. So anyway,
Easter egg.
hi. Well, I've been starting to leave Easter eggs, so don't turn off the video until the next video plays, because there's been shit just getting hidden in there. Dun dun dun. This has kind of got the James Bond bit here.
Yeah, it's a little bit cute, isn't it?
Tech savvy. I mean, do they really need all them? I mean, look at them things.
Well, I think it was, but it's not like kind of, I don't know, I think they're trying to shine on the fact that we're the new age of vampire hunters. You're old school, this is what it's all about now. And I think they're really trying hard to kind of sell a spin-off.
But they wiped the cast out. You know what I mean? They wiped them out.
Yeah.
But again, you look at where they were going, and then after this, they make the TV show. And Sticky Jones didn't do such a bad job as Blade. And the TV show, you know what I mean? Just like, it ends up, they span it off into a mini-film. That CGI hasn't aged well there.
No.
And then they just left it dead in the water on a cliffhanger thing. And like, again, we've talked about this before. Like, if you're going to release something as a complete series, after its initial TV run, then produce a fucking final episode, or something just to wrap it up, because it's not the complete collection. You sit there, you invest time, and then it's fucking just not even like acknowledged. Oh yeah, don't worry, but we've got money off you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've warranted enough to release it, and it not have a fucking ending. I hate it when they do shit like that, and Blade's one of them what did. My Name is Earl, they fucking canned it on a cliffhanger, and then the writer, like there's an acknowledgement in the next series that people went on to make that he gets run over and killed in the background, and it's just like a hidden Easter egg, and it's just like, aye, but like, and again, if you look at all these ones which you've got like, Prison Break comes back and all that, and Leftover, and there's a massive fan base. Look at Firefly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So I get annoyed.
So, what was that about? I was going to say, what would go back on that My Name's Earl thing? Who gets run over?
Earl gets killed in Jason Lee's character gets killed in another episode of something else, but it's a kind of like he's just in the background. It's not acknowledged. It's just some guy who gets run over, and it's like the writers have said, like, yeah, I love that show.
Oh man, it was like you say when they did the cliffhanger. Because I think when I saw it, it was quite heavily advertised that that was the final season. So it's just like, well, what the fuck? What else? Why would you leave it like that?
Look at this montage coming up. Double screens, cutting in. A total different breed of ending from the second film.
I don't know, like it almost feels like they're having more fun with it.
It also...
Like I say, the second one where they were trying to be so gothic and so serious.
That car park there looks like the one from Dark Knight. Shit you not. You know the...
yeah, where you did the tumbler.
Aye. Well, no, the tumbler there, the bit where he lands on top of the car, and the scarecrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought it was the same scene. No, because where you signed all the Batman in hockey pads.
Pretty brutal, like, death scene, just drop him off a building. Look at that Nokia.
It says survived. Definitely a bit more brutal in this, like, isn't he?
He's just a mass murdering lunatic.
Well, that's how they advertised him.
That's totally... This looks like the same car park. Look at it fucking... I don't like the colour there, but...
Well, you think too bright, too white.
There's this, this as well looks very American-Canadian filmed. I think maybe it's Canada. I don't think it's definitely not in Europe. I don't know if you can get some research on that where it was filmed. I mean, just walking around in broad daylight like that, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, but if you go back to early 2000 and then just go to the Green in Newcastle. For those who aren't familiar, the Green is a very popular patch of grass where every
funny you fucking say that. Look at you, little fucking walking through. It was funny you should say that because again, this is the fucking Matrix. Some little mini homage of going through the metal detector. My friend Benji made a film about the Green, and I was looking for something for my friend Dave, and I've just actually found it before. You know when you put something to the side and you're going, right, and then when you're going to find it, you're like, where the fuck did I put that? So I've been digging through loads of DVDs. Geesh. It's him! It's Drake! Dun dun dun! Again, because you can tell, like, we know that. I mean, why? Like, he just looks like a pimp. Again, that actor who plays Dracula, he can pull off that look, the open, bare-chested. Not many people can do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of trendy, but trendy, but like kind of, I don't know, historic. I think you've got to have a particular body for it, though, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Like mine, just put it out there.
Yeah.
So, you were pretty much spot on, Nation. The film was shot in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Toronto, Ontario. What the fuck? I can't read these days. Ontario. That's the one, yeah. Yeah, all Canada. Canada, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Obviously, again, they would have got him off the back end of Prison Break.
Yeah.
That's it, go to Canada. Just push the guy off in the fucking
That was just unnecessary. He could have totally ran past him.
It's like a cliche that it's like truck comes out the alley.
Yeah. Classic timing. See, that makes sense to push him down the stairs to slow him down, but
There's a lot of cutting there though, you know what I mean? Look at that entire chase sequence, and that's so many setups and so fast paced, because in like normal movies you would have them run for ages and you'd be following one camera. That is just jumping off, and I mean even there, I mean who's that guy sitting there rocking out? I mean he looks generally like he's in a band. You know what I mean? And like smashing
he's a camera guy.
Again,
they just needed someone to sit there.
This is very Matrixy. It is. It's
There's
very.
definitely a lot of inspiration.
Well, it is.
Well,
It's him trying to get to the. That's Trinity trying to get away from the agent, and she jumps off and spins through the fucking little hole. Like there, like he's just jumping across the building. Trinity's like, "Oh, get up, Trinity," and like running to get the answer to the telephone.
They try to tell us that, in actual fact, Trinity is Dracula.
No, I'm trying to say in actual fact that the fucking not only called the film Trinity and confusing people. Oh, I haven't heard that name before. Oh, it's Matrix. You know, in a film that.
But did you generally read Blade Trinity and go, is that the Matrix sequel?
No, I generally looked and went, why the fuck have they called it Trinity? It's like, no.
Because there's three of them. That's Trinity, there's three.
I know, but it's an uncommon word for it. It's too close to the fucking Matrix, man. That's what I'm saying.
We'll have to disagree. I know I'll have to agree to disagree, because I think it's just, It's, you say it's the same, but only if it's like...
It's got too many, like, it likes...
If it was called Blade the Matrix, I could totally get on board with you, but they only use a character's name, which, to be fair, had been used many more times before Trinity came along, but I get what you mean. But, no, I just think, I don't know, kind of quirky name in it, just something different. I mean, go back to the 80s, you know, what was it going to be? Blade the Revenge, Blade the Return of, you know, it's just like too many names that have been used, whereas how many people have the name Trinity in the title?
I know, it's just too close to me. Call it Blade the Bloodbath Rave, I don't fucking care. Just don't call it Trinity.
Oh, here comes the weird Gucci Goo.
I mean, that just reminds us of Transformers when he hides behind it. They're going to stand on the edge of the building with your bear. Is that okay? Yes. I don't think he's very tall, is he? He must be only about 5'2" or something.
Nah, he's canny, stocky, like. Not as a diss, but if he was a better actor, he'd be an awesome Wolverine. Body-wise.
He'd be fucking Rambam in the He-Man movie then. Ranham, you know, the one he used to pop down and push off.
Yeah.
Just that fucking stocky
I
little...
watched a Christmas special the other day, you know. One of my mates to the podcast. And he always uploads the episodes, and it was He-Man, the Christmas special. And it was some fucked up animation there, like.
Oh,
but then again, that's why I think like Masters of the Universe would be so interesting, because I think you would have to remap everything about it, because like even on the most like best quality looking film, how are you going to take a man called Fisto seriously?
Well, it's a whole...
I mean, it's just like the universe is a bit weird.
Well, if you look at the original, I mean, that would be an interesting podcast with Paul Ray, actually, Masters of the Universe.
Yeah. Well, he's still out there, isn't he? Skeletor.
Aye, and one of the original fucking hidden Easter eggs. I mean, who the fuck knew Skeletor?
Yeah.
Like, fuck me, man. I didn't even know that, man.
Nobody back in the 80s was sitting in the cinema going, let's hang by us, there might be something at the end. Nah. It's a canny film, like, for what it was. Cheesy as you like, and terrible in the best ways, but like I say, I feel like they did the best with the. I think the law and the fact that He-Man was would have been such an expensive thing to do if they wanted to do it in Eternia and stuff like that, which is obviously why they brought it to Earth. But yeah, it's just like such a campy TV show. It's very tricky to do seriously.
And here we go. Nice little wet, but I just want to be in that shower. I mean, that's a visually stunning shot, that.
Yeah. Although it was strange because you'd normally to be a bit more clever about it, but it was very much a shot.
There's William Shatner. What's he doing in Blade?
Oh, that could be a bit of a trick quiz question, couldn't it?
No, that's a kill.
Trinity.
That's a fucking Killian H. Gore fucking twist.
Killian.
Ryan Reynolds' beard as well. That idea of how that extra little Jeff Hardy kind of spike.
Just about to say, like a very Jeff Hardy look on this.
I remember them days of having a little beard like that.
I say you got shit living in yours now, haven't you?
I wash it every day.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's dirty. I'm just saying, like, as a man who's got a beard himself, it's tricky to have a meal without getting half it stuck in your beard.
He's a very erotic sex scene here. Well, it's not a sex scene. It's. I was there when he was crucified. She's been in quite a lot, Parker Posey.
Yes. Never quite made a big screen though, did she? Like,
no.
I still think even though she's not quite a henchman in this, but she's not quite big enough to be a solid character.
Again, though, I think it's roots to, I think she plays it really well.
Oh yeah.
Again, the whole thing of it being Dracula, it's so much, you know what I mean? It's like, he slept all these years to come back there, like, at least he has a fucking, unlike the Hellboy remake, at least they don't spend the entire fucking film looking for him, like they do with Mila Lokovich, to fucking turn up to then just fucking have less than 10 minutes of screen time. Do you know what I mean? They give him a lot of character, but like, I mean, they just use Dracula, so Blade's like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Well, you just need a new bad guy, so... But this is an example of how it's done well. So, because I'll not go into it too much, because I know it's still early days, but the film that kind of makes my shit list this year is something I literally just watched, which was the new Wonder Woman. And there's an example of using a character in that film just because they needed a fight. Even though they've got a main bad guy, but the way they've written them and the way they've handled them, it's very much a case of going, well, you can't have someone like Wonder Woman going up against that person, so we need to bring in another character, but just not give it half the effort of making a decent arc out of it.
To be honest with you, don't have much time for anything away from the DC universe. I mean, Aquaman, I thought, was a visually stunning, and it's the nicest one I've seen, but it's just such a fucking messy universe, the Justice League one.
Well, this is it. I mean, obviously you're talking about Justice League Snyder Cut. It's not a film anymore, it's like a 4-hour miniseries, but at the same time it's really I can't understand why it got this far into it. The mess has started so early on that they could have easily turned around and said, right, I know we've done reboots after reboots, but I've never stopped them before. I'd just scrap everything we've done and try and do something from scratch. Even keep the cast, because some of the cast is not bad. I mean, I verbally go out there and go on my way and tell people, literally, despite the fact that we've only had them in a handful of scenes. But me personally, the best visual and the best acting in terms of Batman, still Ben Affleck for me. But then again, I've always been prone to the Dark Knight Returns, the older, more battle-worn Batman. There's no denying that, obviously, when you look at someone like Michael Keaton, he did an amazing job back in the day.
But he's meant to come back, though, isn't he? But what is he?
Yeah. So basically, the way they're going to look at it is going to be like a Flashpoint. So there's a big series in the Flash, which is basically where he goes to time, and there's like obviously it's basically what the MCU multiverse is to DC. So like for example, there's obviously rumors that Jeffrey, what do you call him? He's in The Walking Dead.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Him.
He's in
So
that heist
obviously
movie I haven't seen.
That's it, yeah, exactly, yeah, the heist, good film. Although he's skinny in that mind, where the thing is, like, he played the little snippet screen in Batman vs Superman when you see that he's Thomas Wayne. So obviously in the Flashpoint animated series, there is a universe where it was actually Bruce Wayne that died that night, and the death of Bruce Wayne actually caused his dad to become Batman. So like that's why they're talking about the fact that he's gonna be in it, but it's just a different version of Batman.
Doesn't he play?
Like a different universe.
Isn't he the laughing man, the comedian in the Watchmen?
Yeah, he is. So he's starting to get into multi universes. But so like it could be good, like, but again, they're just given what I've seen so far. Nah.
Now, just to cut back in the blade here, first time ever hinted in the last two movies and cut out the blood bank, the human blood bank. Cut from the original movie because at the very start when the guy's like, "What the fuck's that?" as he's going into the rave, it's a body in it, like very similar to that, but they cut back from it. And in the second movie, when he breaks in and shoots everyone in the little small, like they're playing cards, that is potentially a deleted scene as well at the blood bank. So they've been trying to put this on film for ages.
And you know what it is? The first time I saw it, I laughed my little ass off.
Why?
You know why? Because this looks exactly like there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good scene, but it looks exactly like what The Simpsons did when I think it was a Treehouse of Horror. And basically the comic book collector, he was just kidnapping like celebrities and then putting them in like collector's packets. So you had like Xena Warrior Princess, and she was in like it was a real person, like the actress, but as Xena, and he kidnapped her and put her in like what looked like an oversized toy like kind of case. So that's exactly what these look like. It's just like, it's when you put your figures in a nice collection.
Well, you know what else it looks like?
It always makes me laugh. What's that?
The Matrix. When Keanu Reeves wakes up.
Oh, that's a bit of stretch that, like, Nathan.
It's fucking not like.
He wakes up in a fucking... He wakes up in a puddle.
There's a
He did a little...
No, but it's still a room full of people. There's still a room full of people held against their own will and drained of their body resources for a higher power. So yeah.
They weren't drained, were they?
Well, either were. They had all the fucking... They were using them as energy.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't remember that far back. I just remember we had a plug in the battery seat.
Oh, no.
Well, that's another one, you know. The Matrix 4. That seemed a bit of a push, like. I feel like it's done with now, but like the fact that you did the next to John Wick, I feel like it's going to cheapen John Wick a bit.
Well, that's it. I mean, Keanu Reeves, what a career he's had. You know what I mean? He's like, he's been very, he's a very talented guy. But if you look at Keanu Reeves and you look at like Keanu Reeves has, from the 80s, get me right, 80s, 90s, 2000s now and beyond, he has done some of the best. Like when you look at Van Damme's and Schwarzenegger's, how they've had the moment that he has been a constant box office draw in like a very, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's in fucking loads of stuff. But like he's never, he's very private and all that, but he's had some massive hits.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he's, I don't know, I want to say like he's been quite a smart actor. I think he didn't do, here's Whistler again.
This is where Chris Christopherson should have been in this movie. He's dead in the first one, he's not in the second one, and then he comes back.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting move to do this, though, isn't it? Like, you've just introduced all these new characters. This just, again, substitute the idea of what I mean by the fact that they were ready to kind of cash it all out. Figure what else can we do and do as much as we can, but... kind of the Raimi Spider-Man 3 effect.
This is a brutal fucking death. This just again, like screaming off camera at the little girls. Like it's just like fucking hell. It's brutal. Like the other two though, the other two guys are killed off camera as well.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't get it. Yeah. I mean, it's 2 hours long already, but I still think you should have seen something like that. I mean, this is clearly a dramatic scene where they're all getting picked off. I feel like doing it off screen just seemed to be like, I don't know, cheating a little bit.
Well, I was watching. I mean, I got the box set. I know what you did last summer, and I watched the first one
Yeah,
the
you
other day.
did,
And I watched the first one in like, you know, that movie spends a lot of time building up who it is. There's a lot of mystery, and like the 4 main characters, you know, build up, and like they all have the 2 of them who die have dramatic deaths and all that. And then I watched the second one, and I was like, "Fuck me, man! Like this is literally like, if you want to have a brilliant example of a film that it did well because in the I mean, it's always going to be called Scream's Ugly Sister, but like the first one's got a good script. It's the second
I think
one.
the first one did enough to stand on its own. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the second one, like it starts, and like you have the 2 returning characters, you introduce a new couple or whatever, and then you get to the island, and you've got Jack Black, Jeffrey Combs, Bill Cobbs, and then you've got these few other characters, but you've got these famous people in it. They're like introduced, and then they're fucking killed off, and like, you know what I mean? It's almost like a slasher thing, and like, it's just a perfect example of just like fucking hell, like. It's just totally different, like. And then it gets lazy at the end.
Yeah.
Well, obviously there they are, they're dead there on the floor. Again, like the Matrix, when he wakes up and starts killing everybody in the fucking.
I don't remember seeing bodies like all bloodied up on the floor like in the Matrix.
He just unplugs them. This is a brutal death. I mean, it's the way it's done. It's done off camera, and you think she's fucking blind, bless her.
Yeah, because it's.
It's a weird ass fucking gun. That it's something like you should see in Star Wars.
Right, I think she'd admitted defeat by this point, hadn't she?
It takes a good actress to do that because I mean, like acting, you do a lot with your eyes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, you shut your eyes and go, oh, looks. But again, it's all about facial expressions. But that Halloween scream down the air vent.
Yeah.
Be more sinister if that was her daughter, but it's obviously flipped that Whistler's granddaughter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Do. And then there, we get the fucking stretchy little fingers. That's fucking weird.
See, now I think, given all the tech that they've got, you think they could have thought about a better contingency plan. You know, like the fact that, I mean, sure, she's hiding in the vent, but I would have thought they would have had some form of, like, you know, like kind of garlic-infused box to hide in or something like that, you know, like something that's well more thought out rather than just go and hide in a vent somewhere. I mean, you spent a lot of money on weaponry, guys, you know.
I mean, that's it. If you make the choice of willing to go out and hunt down vampires, like, and vampires are like, right, I'm not having this shit anymore. They're dead. Where do they live? Like, you would talk about. I mean, it's very clear in the original Blade that they're all hunting. Like, they're always on the run. They're always moving and stuff. And it laughs as a joke in the second one of like why Wesley Snipes took away, like, moved the fucking weighing machine to Europe, where Whistler hid his wedding ring behind. And you think, what the fuck, man? But like these guys. Like, this is meant to be their base of operations. It's on the fucking waterfront.
Yeah.
You can get there by boat, you can get there by car, you can get there by helicopter. You know what I mean?
It said you walk in as well, by the looks of it.
Mm.
Just have a wander down. No tripwires, no sensors. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I know there was 3 of them there, like, but, you know, like, 2 of them were playing basketball. The one person that was kind of doing the job was the blind one, you know.
Be careful.
Now this is where my memory goes hazy, because obviously I do recall the rescue scene with Hannibal King, but I have no idea what happened to the little girl.
Little girl gets used as
As bait or something like that.
yeah. Well, what the film essentially does now is it's going to set up like the characters have fights. So Wesley Snipes is going to take on Dracula. Jessica Biel is going to take on she takes on no, she doesn't. Oh, she takes on
she takes on the lassie, because obviously
No,
Ryan Reynolds takes on Triple H.
No, Ryan Reynolds is there when I'm sure Ryan Reynolds is there when Parker Posey dies.
Oh yeah, because don't put the garlic in the vent or something like that.
Aye. So the guy do that. Aye.
Aye.
Again, this is.
I remember the fucking stupid joke when he says he's like, "I'm really sorry, like I just farted and I had garlic last night. Could be deadly." I was like, yeah.
Again, this is shades of Finding Whistler in the first movie.
Yeah. Oh, they sent a message, alright.
Left her fucking crucified. Fucking... It's pretty brutal, like.
Right, say when you consider like the first two, they haven't like held back in this one, have they?
No, and this is a 15. I'm sure this was a 15. I'm sure it was. I'm sure that Blade Free's a 15, you know.
Yeah.
Are you watching it on DVD?
It's, aye.
Well, you've got a box. What's it on the box?
Boxing in another room.
And I'll have a look.
I'll have a look, see.
No,
I'm on man now.
I was going to say have a look for some artwork. I'm sure Blade, it's a 15. Let out that scream.
Yes, 15.
Yes! Again, going for the younger audiences, aren't they? They're trying to open that thing.
Yes.
Again, you feel like you're in a city with this. There's a lot of city throw. Oh, I might have pooed myself. There. Again, that's a throwback to the second one, the whole splitting of the mouth.
Second one, innit?
Yeah.
There's obviously a connection there between that one, but I don't know, like splicing DNA now. There you go with other species. Oh, aliens.
How did you fucking see my dick? There's a proper wrestling kick, that.
Oh, I mean, he does his backbreaker though, doesn't he?
No, he does a power slam and it's really good.
Yeah, because he's got his own, hasn't he? It's kind of where he like kind of picks him up, turns around and slams him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, if this had been made like at least for 2 or 3 years earlier, there's no doubt they would have given him a pedigree.
Well, that was it, but the pedigree, I mean, such a brilliant move, but like, it's kind of like...
The Rock's done the rock bottom in most films, hasn't he? Or at least like a very similar variation of it.
That's it. You want to see a wrestler pop out at least a move.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the
Well,
big...
they did it with
the big shows in
Sorry?
Jingle All the Way.
Aye, Santa Claus, isn't he? Aye. Well, the Mandalorian, they've got Banks, what do you call her? The lassie man with blue hair, Summit Banks.
Sasha Banks.
Aye. Well, she had a bit of a tumble with Boba Fett. She did a kind of a Well, if you imagine in a wrestle ring where they do like the bulldog, where they run up the turnbuckle and then kind of spin around and drop them.
Oh, right,
She kind of does that on Boba Fett, and I was like, it's an interesting way of doing it. So obviously they did it in a way that makes more sense to Star Wars.
I'm still here. I'm just going to get a jumper from the other room.
Yeah, cool.
I can hear some of it, but I'm not sure what the fuck it is. Man, it's so eerie outside, isn't it? Jesus Christ. It's like Fog City out there.
Oh, you got fog? I haven't got fog outside mine. Like,
I live high up.
it's a full moon. I've got a very clear view of the moon.
What are you talking about? It's fucking 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, yeah. Still a full moon, I can see it.
No, I've stood up.
Fucking someone forgot to plug the sun in.
You keep talking, I just need to pop downstairs a second.
Alright, okay. Well, I mean, currently on the screen we have Ryan Reynolds, very much horror and sex appeal. I mean, we needed at least one shot to say, by the way, look at all the muscle I've gained, which I'm sure most of the female and the odd male audience would appreciate. But yeah, it kind of feels a little bit more like the, I don't know, like the whole, we're going to tell you the whole plan while we wait because we've got to wait for someone to come and rescue them, so. But nonetheless, it's a good scene from what I remember. But again, going with the dark element, I mean, the idea, like, there's a genuine kind of, like, this is the first time we see Ryan Reynolds, like, literally take something serious. Because obviously, for those who can't see, they've just introduced the girl, the young girl, and he's obviously not too pleased about that, but... Oh, here's Mason coming.
I know. I've been wondering why it's so cold. I fucking left the window open downstairs.
Come on, mate. As a homeowner, you're going to have to learn how to do that sort of thing. Cost a fortune leaving the window open.
Well, I was just trying to keep it all airy, freshy, you know.
Airy, fresh.
Is this the bit where...
Me and the audience were just talking about the massive sex appeal that we had to have from Ryan Reynolds to really kind of sell that scene that he put a lot of muscle on.
He's fucking ripped in it, like. He is absolutely ripped in it.
We've got a good old calibrator there. Which is a weird thing. I've done a little bit of archery in my time, and I was always kind of standard bow, and this one lad who used to go to the group that we were at, he had his own crossbow that looked a bit like this. I don't know, it kind of feels a bit weird, because it almost takes away the challenge, because obviously if you've never done it before, as soon as you draw back the string, you know, the longer you hold it for, the more you're going to wobble, you know, so it's kind of that's kind of the key to doing archery. You kind of pull back, and you only want to hold it for a second or two before you let go. The longer you hold it, the less accuracy you're going to have. Whereas with that, they kind of go completely different. So it basically, with the wheels on either side, it just takes away all the tension. So the idea is that when you pull it back, you could hold it for days. But I never really got it. Like, it didn't seem like serve much of a purpose.
It's like with having the speed thing here, and it's like, this is a weird little montage, this, I think. Like, why you spend all that money, like, how fast it goes, it's just like, she's getting faster, she's holding it, you know what I mean? I mean, what you've just said there, how long you can hold it for.
Yeah, there's no logic to how, it can't be hitting it harder. You know, she's letting go of the same string. So this is where, like, the nerd will come out and say, unless I'm wrong, unless someone in the comment section want to correct us, but you can pull back the string 100 times, you're not going to hit the target much harder. No. We might get a little bit more on it, but at the same time, not like how that was going from 100, 200, 300. But it was all for dramatic effect. She needed to get that anger out, didn't she?
Well, there's a big ass fucking creepy clown behind them, that was weird.
I love the technology as well, as you know, because obviously they're so high tech in weaponry. But every time you see a computer screen, it's like, oh, that's proper 98 Windows, that like.
And again, the Jamie Kennedy from Scream. Have you?
Yeah.
She just knew that she was gonna die, so she left this message to fill in a void. That old cliche.
Yeah. Now that bloke, he's an interesting actor because he pops up in loads of stuff, and he's such a dramatic actor. But I've never seen him in anything like massive.
Who? The random guy who's just appeared with a beard. Like, where's he came from?
Well, he just turned up apparently, but obviously he had the message. But have you ever seen Hell on Wheels?
Oh, again, that was it. That's another TV show that just got cancelled, wasn't it?
Yeah. Great series. Never finished it. I will probably get round to it. I think I was on the last series before I got round to watching most of it, but
Nope. It's like The Rock all over again. Looks like Aiden English, the wrestler.
funny because he looks very different on this to what because he seems to have a much more common look now.
Getting the whole city shots. Chaining like a dog to the floor.
Well, I mentioned that when you were gone before. Like I was saying, it was an interesting scene when they use her, obviously with Hannibal King, and like obviously we're hour and a half into a 2-hour film, and it's the first time you really see like Hannibal King like sort of right. I've got nothing funny to say.
Great name, that though.
Facial expression. Oh, Hannibal King, yeah. It's just practically the way his face told you everything. Like he's like, right, I've got no quips left. He's taking this too time. I'm going to try and butcher this one. So that bloke I was on about is Christopher Heyerdahl. And he's probably been in the X-Files.
Everyone's been in the X-Files, man.
Just try and look at the last couple of things.
Oh, montage of getting ready. Douche.
Yeah, I could say that's the second or third montage in the film.
Gotta need some montages.
He's listed on here as the Swede.
The Swede.
But he's actually done a lot of TV, that's why he's...
Well, it's Canada. There's a lot of things done in Vancouver around that era, so you know what I mean. If you're an actor, I mean, especially people who like, you get people who make the choice of being an actor, and yes, they'll may have the breakout role, but like if you move to where cities are developing stuff, so for example Bulgaria, or you go to Vancouver in this instance, and you are like you can speak an American accent, but you have a foreign accent or whatever and all that, you'll get work in all loads of stuff. You'll be that guy.
Yeah.
And like at the end of the day, you're just a worker, so you'd be on from film sets and you know that, and it's getting in one of the casting agents and stuff like that. Because casting agents, it's all about like where you're from. But if you're an actor trying to like, say for example, you're an actor and you want to be in Hollywood, how many times have you heard that story of like small town people going, right, I've got to go to Hollywood. It's not Hollywood now, yeah. It's like Vancouver, Canada, Bulgaria, Sofia, all these places. You've just got to be willing to take the risk. But like if you can go there and you can get work, and that's how you end up like, fucking hell, he's in that, fucking hell, he's in that. And like, eventually, I mean, you look at loads of actors who become famous in their later lives. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be young on like Hollywood and all that. Your time will come. You know what I mean? You've just got to have that drive to get there.
Oh, totally.
Well, we're about in the last part of the movie, the last quarter for sure. As Ryan Reynolds is about to get beat down, he will take Triple H. Now the thing is, the setup here as well, it's almost like a wrestling ring. It's like a cage match.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's close confined, so they can get away with it, definitely. No, it's interesting that. I'll have to double check that. I don't know if it means Blu-ray or means, well, actually, it probably means DVD. Apparently, there's an Easter egg on the special features disc. Click up when that vampire hieroglyphics highlighted. Click it to access a hidden movie.
Oh, this is the Blu-ray. This, so it's I think Blade Trinity was a double disc.
Yeah. How many vampires do you think Blade kills in this film? I'll give you a little clue. It's the lowest of the series.
8.
Oh, a little higher than that.
No, 20.
Double it and then add some more.
50.
Nah, go back down. 42.
And here we go.
There's the garlic flakes.
It just happened to. And again, more comical. He's fucking breathing fire.
Yeah. Now.
Again, playing on the comical.
Yep.
That stunt guy just looks like he fucking fell through that. And yep, here we go. It all begins.
Where it ends.
Again, it's got Scream's the second movie.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing about this, which I've just looked up there when I was looking something else up. Now you mentioned Hannibal King mentioned that he was a vampire, and obviously he's now been reversed. But apparently it says in the comics. You were actually turned by Deacon Frost. I thought that would have made more sense to mention that in the film.
Yeah,
a nice little connection.
Yeah, Deacon. I think Stephen Dorff was a great villain in the first one, definitely.
Yeah, would have just made a little bit more interesting if it was some dick vampire called Deacon Frost turned us or something like that. Would have been you didn't have to go any further. You just have to make a mention of it because, like I say, if you're going to go through the fact that he had his monologue about how he turned and how he's now been reversed and that, you think, well, would have made a lot more sense to mention it. This is very modern teeny thing, isn't it? Put the headphones in. You imagine you can't watch a single video on YouTube on.
Oh, lost call there for a second.
AirPods.
There's a big, I mean, again, that bit there was class, the blood squirt. She's just going to absolutely wipe everyone out, isn't she?
Oh, she's pissed,
There's a big CGI stunt coming here when he jumps up and that, but it works.
Yeah. It's an interesting setting that they went for. It's very similar to where the second one ended. It was almost like a modern architectural building.
Look at them run. It's very it's lush. It's a lush building. It's probably just been finished, you know what I mean? They've probably had full freedom for that.
Yeah.
Oh, kick to the chin.
That'll always remind me of a not so good sequel of No Retreat, No Surrender. Because the sequel ended up playing off two different brothers. The opening sequence is, I'm pretty sure, they're tied up or something like that. And he'd always got, he has the little knife that comes out the toe hole of a shoe. I know loads of people have used it, but for some reason that's what takes my brain straight away. Classic Van Damme film, of course.
Here it comes. Whoosh.
Very cool.
I've totally missed Triple H's running power slam, haven't I?
Yeah.
So who's the dad? Does anyone mention who the dad is?
I don't think it ever got mentioned, no. Because I took it that she was... Because it's not Jessica Biel kid, is it?
This bit's dead funny here. It is. Jessica Biel. It's like, fuck
I
me.
thought it was the blind lasses. Yeah. I think he shit himself like.
And they've all got
Say again, they say little dialogue, well, it's just a little too far, mate. The fuck me was enough, but the whole fuck me sideways.
and they've all got the mouths.
I love how he sorts them out though. It's quite funny. Did you expect to see something good?
Look good. Dogs just go smashing through the glass.
They made that look a lot more of a dramatic jump, didn't they?
And then to have the jump here.
Yeah.
Great dog acting there though. A dog's steering off the end. I mean, what kind of dog would want to do that?
Yeah. Unless I didn't tell him.
Oh, sorry, dog.
See, now this is interesting because I was about to look through here because I was sitting there thinking, hold on, I'm pretty sure the fight scene with Hannibal and Triple H is in the cell room.
Oh, there we go. It's in the back there. He's back to where he was.
Falls down the hole, he's back in the original thing, yeah. That's why I thought, that's what I was saying when you said that. I was like, well, no, the fight scene definitely happened in the cell. But then that's how he gets back.
So I'm doing a bit of multitasking, so I thought I generally missed it by accident.
Oh, no.
So yeah, here he comes. Of course, he's got dolled up for it. Big showdown. Blade.
Now, how would you feel as that they went all medieval? The armour and that.
Well, he's put on his best suit, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, not really. Only, well, I suppose, yeah. He's been a Kathmandu or something.
Kathmandu.
You know, I did never step foot in that shop. It's one of the most famous goth shops in America, in Newcastle. And never stepped foot in it.
You watch Triple H's fighting here.
They just seem to be a little bit choreographed. It's like toe-to-toe in it. Like, you take your shot, I take my shot. Well, he's not bad, it's just he's a bulky bloke, so I don't think he's not going to get a lot of speed on him. So it's going to have to be like blunt force trauma shots rather than like kind of technical.
Yeah, a bit of sword fight. I mean, for what you could have done, you could have cast Christopher Lambert as Dracula. That would have made more fucking sense. Especially, you know what I mean? Like, if you're looking for a credible threat.
Although saying that though, I don't know if Lambert could do it, but like, one of the things I read earlier on was Dominic Purcell. He did all that sword work. There was no stunt double for that. Apparently, he was able to do the whole thing on his own.
Oh, he's definitely in shape. Triple H there, like obviously, Triple H has faked breaking an arm by Brock Lesnar twice, so that's just an arm breaker there.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar actually, considering it, when you think about it.
Can't he just completely fix it straight away?
Yeah, I think he just pops it straight back in. But it's like, I don't know, like, I'm not an expert, but I would have expected that from a vampire. I'm thinking, you know, kind of superhuman, so...
Here it goes, boom!
There you go, and then he turned it around.
It's a great power slam though.
Turns. Oh yeah. Bit of a shaky cam there to get the extra effect.
A move really made famous by Davey Boy Smith, but now used by Braun Strowman. But Strowman just doesn't. He's had such a big push and so many different finishes. He just picks them up and drops them straight away.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I think he's supposed to have a bit of a bigger impact with the Bray family, and then obviously they wanted to separate him from that, put him on his own. And I think there was like little moments where, like, when they got him to win the tag team championship with that random kid in the audience, it was just like, no way.
He's in fantastic shape now, though. Like you see him, he comes off like
he's now compared to what he was.
No disrespect him, like his last couple of posts on Instagram, he looks like he's came off quite gay.
Aye.
Oh, and he goes.
Yeah.
Triple H is about to go.
The issue you got now. Oh, that's the way to go. I think the problem is now, though, like, he's not much of a credible threat. Like, for a bloke that big, it should have been more like a Kane thing, where, like, don't let him talk, just let him be like a beast. Now he's just, well, it's just a cartoon character.
Oh. I mean, that's a weird shot there.
Oh. I was going to say, I don't know how we managed to go in that kind of direction. And it was just almost to say, look at the CGI that we can't do very well.
There goes the sword. Just like in the original.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sharp sword, but if I'm going to be really critical, that looks like a kind of a Marble-esque claw. So it's not going to stick in it.
Bear hug. And then another... Again, that's where... You know, they're really relying on CGI here. And I mean, and he transforms and...
I mean, it looks good, but did he need to change? I don't know. I don't think he did. Unless you were so confident that it would work. 'Cause, I mean, you can see obviously the light in there, and that they've done a very classical, let's make sure they're in a dark space, so he's not really putting too much detail on him.
That was a fucking hard fall against the table, like. It's fucking like, it's not really like, he looks a bit like the legend, Tim Curry. It's kind of like,
yes,
what's he meant to be? And then obviously now it's like,
I mean,
he's obviously now got the jaw, like the baddies do in the second one as well.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. So are the baddies descendant from Dracula?
Hmm.
But then they were classed as vampires, brother.
It's just a little bit of a weird thing, like.
I think they like the look of it. It's a good look. You know, when the jaw opened, it does look good. So I feel like they have like thought, oh, we don't want to lose out on using such a good effect.
Fucking look at them teeth, man. And but again, he just gets stabbed with a vac. I mean, it's not like a massive death though, as well.
No, but why did he expect that one and he didn't expect the other one? So like typically it had to be the one that was an ordinary arrow that actually hit.
Well, it has to be Blade who kills Dracula, doesn't it? It's not Whistler's daughter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
And douche. Now we get a lot of CGI as the blood clusters hit the air. Just like the Matrix. You turn it off and all the machines go down.
Yeah, when all the blood starts floating around, I remember that scene.
It's all got a knock-on effect. And then there was no vampires. It's like someone's done now with COVID. It's like COVID-19 in the air.
Yeah. I reckon we'll all be
And she just succumbs to the virus as well. She doesn't really like.
She didn't get a death.
Yeah. I mean, she gets
I
a
feel
whip.
like they want to give her a drawn out death like that to show you really what's happening to all of them. And it had to be like someone of a face on the screen. With it just being like some, generic look, I don't think it would have struck a chord as much.
And then he goes out like, "You fought a true warrior." I mean, I love it how he's got leather pants on.
See, I don't know if it'd be like too generic or like even in my head now, it's just thought of it. But what if like the new Blade is like almost like the write him as a not like I don't know if it's son, but as like the next Blade sort of thing. So like he's not really this Blade; he's just the next version of it.
Oh, the idea of
because he makes a point of it saying, obviously, you're the one that's going to carry it on. It's not going to be the regular vampire, it's you who's going to carry it on. So the idea of like saying, well, Mahershala Ali could be, yes, I don't know if Sun would be too cheesy, but I think it would work.
But I mean,
better if you at least wrote Wesley Snipes into it to say that you're the part of the universe. I think you own that, like I think.
Well, they're going in here or there. It's like, is Blade meant to die here? You know what I mean? But the fight wasn't as brutal as enough. He's got no battle scars. He's not dirty. He's still pristine.
Yeah, no, because it didn't seem there was never a case. He shouldn't even be that knackered, to be honest with you. Because I imagine this is like a little, like not like straight away afterward, but a several minutes afterwards. So he should have like.
Well, this is where, this is where the original ending and where they were going to take this, and like kind of like going right. Well, if Blade's going to sacrifice himself and the stakes are high that it's going to wipe out every vampire, Blade would be effective. Yeah. But then like Blade right off in the sunset. I mean, it doesn't end the trilogy, all right, but like they spend a lot of money on this deleted scene, which we will cover. But obviously the cops are involved. There's no fucking essence of vampires. But yeah, it's just kind of a bit of a messy ending, I think. Because again, like Wesley Snipes does a wheelie down the fucking middle of the road while cars are going all the other way, and you think, well, what the fuck's that?
Yeah.
And then obviously Blade's left there, so you think, is he dead? And like, where have they gone? And
yeah.
Fucking lot of buildings there, man. Like, isn't there? I mean, we don't have anything like that up the north here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're countryside, don't we?
So and then it cuts to this bit. Like, this is obviously where, like, he just wakes up, doesn't he? It's not really.
Well, I would imagine it's sensible to at least behave like it had an effect on him. Because if it didn't, it would be like, oh, well, that's convenient. So at least it was to say, maybe it was enough to knock him out. Enough. But then obviously his body's adjusted.
But here as well, look at this. She's scared to her death, and it's like, is Blade bad? Do you know what I mean? It's obviously it's setting the heron that Blade's like not the same Blade, if you know what I mean. But then this scene kicks in, the monotone happens, and he just rides off down the middle. The idea of Blade becoming like completely different and then setting up a sequel where he's, do you know what I mean? He's just a force to be reckoned with. But then look, just rides down in the middle of the fucking, does a wheelie. So what the fuck? Like, it's just messy.
Yeah.
And then we get almost
I almost feel like a farewell montage, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is the best of what's happened, sort of thing.
Produced by Wesley Snipes as well. You see, again, I like it when films do this. I mean, this is where Stan Lee's name flying across the screen. again, like all films should have these kind of like, you know what I mean? It should put like people's names to the actors, and then like have a hidden bit, then the whole credit roll. But yeah, it is a bit of a mashup.
I think they need to like kind of reinvent the credits though, because like to me it's just like, I'm not going to lie and say I watch all of them, but it'd be nice to have the credits be like almost part of the film.
Well, look at going back to Predator.
Stay and watch it.
When you have that reel and go, right, these are the people you've just spent the film with, and you put, because everyone goes, oh yeah, I've seen him in Summit, I've seen her in Summit. You don't know the names. So there you go,
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes. You know, I mean, no introduction needed with him. I mean, that's an amazing shot there with a fire. Blade, Trinity, again, fucking wow.
Trinity.
Chris Christopherson gets his. He should be Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
So he gets his name really high. Jessica Biel, you know that's her. Ryan Reynolds. Parker Posey, yeah.
Parker Posey, yeah.
Yeah, Dominic Purcell.
Purcell, I think.
John Mike. See, again, you'd start to know who these people are because
of stuff. Yeah.
James Ralsmore. With Triple H.
I like how I was just about to say it, and I was just about to compliment them there, but I didn't do it. I like how if you go on IMDb, it's Paul Levesque.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like it would be a bit better knowing that it was. Cause I don't know. I just feel like if you're really trying to make that transition, sure, you're getting them involved because you want to represent them for what they're known for, which is wrestling. But you know, like it took years before they started calling Dwayne Johnson. You know, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, drop the rock.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's the character. Right. So what I'm going to do is we'll go into now. There is no. I'm going to fast forward it out because I don't think there's anything hidden in the Marvel film.
No, because I'm scanning through myself, but I don't know.
And we'll quickly watch the alternative ending for the end of this outtake. Yeah, fast forward, wing, just standard little font. There's a lot, there's a lot. Everyone's got to have their names on.
Oh
yeah. It does. It has a hidden bit. Hang on. Oh fuck! It's gone. It does have a hidden bit.
What was it?
I don't know. It just came up word, like randomly. Hang on.
Oh yeah, no, I think I saw that on the trivia thing I was looking at. It just literally said word.
No, it says word,
but Wesley Snipes thing.
No, but Wesley Snipes has just appeared. Hang on, I'm gonna have to go back and have a look. There is a hidden bit. "22 chapters. And now we must fast forward yet again. Hang on. End credits again. Right, yo. It's like deja vu. I'll try. I just want to see what it is. I didn't realise there was one.
I was going to say I've got a special feature now, so I'll let you do the legwork.
The button bushing. Right, I'm just at the artists. Music by Weapons of Mass Destruction. Bombs Away. Opticals. Laser Pacifica Media Corporation. Westcam. So there's a thing called Westcam. Right, okay, so Fujifilm released Incubus, courtesy of that's filmmakers, Bureau of Land Management. Canada's. Oh, Del Toro's name's it there? Del Toro. Blade Trinity.
Some input.
New Line Cinema. Word is the last thing. And Word stays, fades, and we have Wesley Snipes driving in his car. panning alongside of him. Shot of the city, zooms off. That's it. So again, it's him. Blade is still out there.
In the sunset then.
No, it was just him zooming around the city. That was it. Oh, weird.
Interesting.
Right, so the deleted scene. Let's go to that. Alternative ending. Are you ready? Because I'm going to press play. 3, 2, 1. Right, it starts. Now, 6 months later, and we're in China, so it borrows from the original two. Obviously, the first one, they end up in Russia. The second one, you know, he's out and about. David Goya's actually in this. He's the guy who gets chucked across the table. That's the Swede again, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Again, this is setting it up. This is what they were trying to do. There was going to be a Night Stalkers. What are you going to do now? Chasing vampires. Again, that's Goya there, little cowboy guy. Again, going back to what the Lost Boys did, you know, after 3 vampire films, they start hinting at the idea of going after that. But again, it's too much like Underworld, you know, the werewolves vampire mix.
Yeah.
And boom. Now the werewolf, I think, is quite impressive.
It's a weird coloured jacket, that, like, for a leather jacket.
But again, it's more, I mean, she's dressed up, I mean, they almost look like characters from Streets of Rage here.
Yeah. It looks like from afar, it just looks like denim.
And then it doesn't go anywhere. It roars, boom, boom, and then cuts off. So they filmed it. You know what I mean? It's not like.
I'd have put the effort in, definitely.
So how many? Ooh. Keanu Reeves girlfriends out of 10 would you give the movie?
How many Trinities? Upon revisiting, it definitely is way better than the second one.
Oh, by far.
It's definitely a higher finish. You know what it is for the time? I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 Trinities. I feel like it's a strong performance all around. I mean, like I say, there is like the fight scenes are way better. Obviously, there is slower parts of them where you can say where they're not really as fast paced as maybe say the first one, or even as far as the second one goes. But if that's the sacrifice to get a better played out story, like I say, that was the longest one of the 3. Yet that never felt like a drag for me. Whereas the second one, like by the time we got halfway through, it was like, shit, are we there yet? You know,
yeah, the second one totally dragged. Yeah.
So I'll take the slower fight scenes for the fact that it was a better told story.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8 with you. Yeah, I'm going to agree. 8 Trinities, because like, as you said there, hit the nail on the head. We talked a lot about at the very end of the second podcast that if you took Chris Christopherson out there, you would have had a better film all around for time and pacing. What I like about it, I mean, don't get us wrong, it doesn't. I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds, especially because of what Ryan Reynolds has become, I like it. Again, I think Chris Christopherson should only be in this as a cameo. I like it how it throws back to the original. I mean, it's the same writer all the way through. He's obviously like channeled in. I mean, it is controversial that Wesley Snipes wasn't fully involved in the movie. But I would say, you know, I mean, it's a nice turn of the sequel. I think Snipes, again, the special effects are a lot better than the second one by far. But again, it's just, obviously that's the Canadian one. So the original's the American one, the sequel's the Europe one, and the third one's the Canadian one. It's like there's some of that shines across all the films, but the constant that it's always Goya, and it's Wesley Snipes, and Chris Christopherson, because he's in all 3 of them. Again, it's a nice franchise. Again, should it been Dracula? Not. Just give him a credible threat. I mean, I'm not dissing it, Dominic, but I think they could have had a more credible actor. Don't get us wrong, he was shit hot at the time, Prison Break or whatever. But I think, again, if you just, for joking, like, if it was Christopher Lambert, And at the end scene, if Christopher Lambert changed into that creature, you know what I mean? Because Lambert could have put on a good sword fight, then he could have had that a second comeback and morph into that bigger creature, and that could have been a fine thing. But it's like the ending. The one, it's the knowing that Ryan Reynolds' work and Jessica Biel and like the wanting to spin off, and New Line's always looking for sequels. You just look at fucking Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th series. They're always looking for cash-ins, and like again, it's one of those films where it's been smart enough not to pull the trigger, and they went right. No, that's we're not going to pursue that. We wanted to, but we haven't. The whole werewolf thing.
Oh, I mean. It was smart because like they knew for sure they were going to lose Blade, but there was nothing to say they couldn't keep the universe, and nothing to say, well, you know, we could still carry on this, which is why I didn't understand why we didn't, because to be honest with you, it literally, if you take away what they were, like the Night Stalkers and stuff like that, it was a generic kind of supernatural vampire werewolf kind of film. So even though the viewer would have known they came from Blade, as long as there was no mention of which it didn't need to be, it would have worked totally fine. So I'm really surprised we didn't get something like that. But with I think with Ryan Reynolds, the critiques of Ryan Reynolds, the thing is, they hired him to do that. That's the thing. I mean, that's what they wanted out of the character, and I think that's what keeps it working. If he was in a really serious vampire film, he would pull all that off. I don't think it would have worked. But the fact that they knew what they were getting when they hired him.
Well, let's see. What came first, this or Wolverine? This. Because obviously he turns up in there as Deadpool, and like, I think like Hannibal King, you know what I mean? It's the same universe.
Well, I'm going to say the Wolverine, and like what he plays as Deadpool and what he played in it, like I say, it's mirrored. It's completely mirrored. There's like literally there's no real difference whatsoever. But again, that's just what he does. But for me, I think when I say it, I think the only thing I would change, I think you're right. I think the bad guy could have been someone different. And not being called Dracula. I would have said maybe if it had a slightly better soundtrack. The soundtrack was a little bit amiss on this one for me. So if they had a bit more of a defiant bad guy, and then check out, I think, the time that we have with Whistler, and maybe have it so that Whistler's daughter turns up looking for him, or you know, hears that he's dead and finally gets around to finding Blade. You could get a little bit more like time with Wesley Snipes. Obviously, this is in a universe where Wesley Snipes is very involved, which we know it isn't. But the only thing is, though, if they got Adam Lambert, that's not who they need. If they got Christopher Lambert, right, and he was to form into the Beast at the end, are you pro or con Christopher Lambert looking dead at the camera and going, animality? Because that would just be, it would be like, it would get a shitstorm on the internet, but it would just be like, so like, own it, because with Christopher Lambert's voice and the way that he takes things so seriously, I think like you just have to giggle. I think, yeah, that's what I want. Want a bit of animality and Blade, why not? But no, solid film, really all around. I mean, for its age, it still holds up. It can be kind of treated as a good ending. Like I say, you could look at it and say, well, that was it. You know, obviously, I would like to see a bit of almost like a Logan film, maybe. You know, have a beaten up older version. Obviously, time finally catching up. And he's obviously, yes, he is a vampire, but he's slow. He still ages. He just slows incredibly slowly. So it would be real. It would never happen in a million years. But even if they did a film where it was like 50 years in the future, and like now he looks the way he does, so he is like kind of a bit knackered and a bit run down. But give him like a swan song, like give him a death scene, give him something of a like this is the end of Blade sort of thing. And I feel like that would work really well if they found a way to incorporate into what Mahershala is going to do. And I feel like that would be a nice way to pin Wesley Snipes up as Blade, and a nice way to introduce a new guy. The only problem is they want to keep the look of Blade, and I think it would look weird if he like gimmicks everything. You know, the same haircut and the same kind of tattoos. So
I think Blade should definitely be in the next Mortal Kombat. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, this is the end of the Blade trilogy. We have done all three now. A lot shorter distance between
the
Blade.
Trinity?
Yeah. There's a lot shorter distance between 2 and 3. It's a couple of days after Christmas. So we don't know what we're going to do next, but we are back for another podcast on New Year's Day with the one and only Paul Ray. Undecided if it is Tremors yet, but it should be, because I need to take in a lot of content until then. But for now, I've been Steve Monkey Mason, and I've been joined by Mr. Carl McSorley. Thanks for listening. Goodbye for now.
Cheers. Bye.